Okay, we're recording. Hi Daphne again. Great. This is like the perfect way to start the work week for me. So just
I
get
agree.
I always feel like on a high after doing podcast and just, it's so empowering to like meet women that just like kicked butt in the military and then now they're kicking butt in their second career. So I'm really excited to have you. Thank you for doing this with me.
Oh, thank you.
Um,
I'm so thankful to be here and grateful, especially when you're following your
yeah.
passion. So this is awesome.
Oh, great. Um, do you want to take a second and just kind of introduce yourself and I guess just tell me whatever you would like about yourself if you can.
Oh, be careful giving me the platform like that. I've known to
Nope,
have the
let's do
gift to
it.
gab.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yes, okay. I'm Daphne Soto, the owner of Cell Coaching and Consulting. But before owning my own business, I joined the Air Force in 1990, letting you know my age, served for 25 and a half years. My husband was also in the military. He also served Air Force as well. He did 24 years, and we have three beautiful children that came up through the ranks with us, so to speak. And I think that has been such a blessing in that sense. And we now are also we also have three grandchildren, a 2-year-old
Aw.
and a set of 3-month-old twins. And we just came back from
Oh,
visiting them over
congrats.
the weekend. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been nice, with that chapter. I joined the military, like I said, July of 1990, fresh out of high school. I graduated, didn't waste any time, and said, I need to get my career started. And I don't think I was thinking career at that time. I know I wasn't. I was thinking
Yeah.
about college. Let's get
Hmm.
college done and get college
Yeah.
done. And I thought I was going to do my 4, be done with it, get what I needed to get out of it, and move on. And joke on me. and then I,
Yeah.
and for the longest, I said, there's no way I would ever do more than 20. If I decide to stay, it'll be 20 to the dot. And I end up doing 25 and a half. So,
There you
must have
go.
been pretty good. It was good for me.
Yeah.
But, I made sure that, not only did, um, I give to the military, but they gave something back. And so I made sure that I always made the most of opportunities and benefits and did things that way. I'm originally from Columbia, South Carolina. So
Okay.
to see coming from a small town country girl, in Columbia, it's not that small, but it's small compared to New
It's still
York.
country too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
country. And now to be living my dream in Florida and still following my dream, so to speak, still
Yeah.
building and climbing. It's been a wonderful thing. I had some, not just good assignments, I had some great assignments with great people, great leadership, and really, really honed everything I could. Um, my only regret is probably not crossing over to the officer corps when I was thinking about it and
Yeah.
completing my master's degree while I was in the military, because I think that kind of bridged the gap for my second life here.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your job in the Air Force?
Oh, yeah, that would be probably important. Well, my first job in the Air Force, I was a radio operator, so to speak. It was called radio operator, a 3
Okay.
Charlie. And I did that for 7 years. So I was like, it wasn't the best job, but the paychecks were good on the first and 15th. So I said I
Yeah.
stuck with it, but I knew
Yeah.
I needed something more transferable. I started thinking more strategically, a skill set to
Hmm.
have. And then I crossed over into what is now called equal opportunity. When I came in, they were making the transition from social actions to military equal opportunity.
Hmm.
So in 1997, I started pursuing that and became an EO personnel in 1998. And that was a very interesting career. I think that's when I
Oh, I'm
knew,
sure.
yeah, that me helping people, nurturing people was something that was lifelong for me. I can remember ever since I was little, I knew I would be, always said I was going to be some type of doctor. Hadn't made that yet, but it's not too late. That might still happen for me. I'm considering
Yeah.
pursuing my PhD. But I thought I was going to be a medical doctor. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to be a psychiatrist. And then it went on like, oh, I think I could be a therapist, and I just knew I was going to be a therapist. So I ended up completing my bachelor's with a concentration in psychology. My master's, I am a mental health counselor by trade, but that's
Oh,
a story
awesome.
within itself. Yeah, of why I didn't pursue licensure. A lot of people are like, why didn't you just become licensed? You did all that school, you did all that work, but I ended up falling into the population of working with autistic individuals, autism spectrum disorder.
Okay.
And I never knew that was going to be my niche. So you couldn't have paid me $1 million to say that's where I would end up. I said, oh, I'm going to go back and help other military veterans, the women, their children, because I know what it's like having those multiple roles, trying to fulfill your military obligations, trying to be a wife and a mom while serving. And those are challenging because I think we deal a lot with role conflict. So I was thinking I could give back and give my little nuggets of information. When I graduated from my master's program, the place I interned at ended up hiring me. And
Oh,
I
great.
fell, yeah. And I was working with individuals between the ages of 18 and 32, and all of them were diagnosed as either on the spectrum or ADHD. They were all neurodivergent individuals. And I think because of that military, we're just very direct. We say what needs to be said. We don't have time to waste. It resonated with them. And I appreciated their directness and just being honest and sharing their thoughts. And I was like, I'm in love. I'm in love with the field. I'm in love with neurodivergent individuals. And I was like, yes, this is where I need to be. And that's all she wrote. And from there, I learned the niche. I learned the tricks of the trade, what I needed to do. Well, I worked at a place, beautiful program. I think what they offer is fabulous, but their program also costs on average $100,000 a year. Who can afford that?
Wow. Yeah.
Like, Kristen, like, who has just $100,000 just laying around? And they had no scholarships. It was either you could pay it or you couldn't.
Man.
So you're kind of catering to a certain population. Absolutely wonderful. But I was like, these services need to extend to other people. I wish I had someone, because it took me a while to realize, I'm neurodivergent. I have 2 neurodivergent children as well. Because, it's such a broad umbrella. A lot of times people think I hear autism. That's only not neurodivergent, but there are other ways you could be neurodivergent as well.
Yeah. This is editing Kristen popping in real quick to let you know that Daphne's internet cut out and a lot of her video is gone. So we're just going to pick right up back where her video started recording again. So apologies for the conversation being cut off, but just pick back up where we can. Okay, did you hear what I said last?
No, I did not. I apologize.
Okay. No, you're fine. It's not your fault. I was just saying, I think like the military has really made us like so much more accepting of people of like different cultures and backgrounds. And like for me, growing up in a small town in Ohio and then joining the military at 18, like I was way too naive to be thrown into this melting pot because I went straight to a ship. I was in the Navy. And it was just, you better catch up and learn how to deal with this ASAP because it's just so immersive. And now that I'm out, nothing really phases me anymore like it does a civilian who has not been exposed to that diversity.
Absolutely. You are so accurate about that. that was another, that was one of my challenges when I left the military after being ingrained in such a culture where, you have so much, like you said, diverse people and groups and even management styles, leadership styles. And we have leadership training. We actually, um, train people, teach people how to get along better with others and to engage with others. And like civilians don't have that. And it's different.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you found, I'm glad you found a career that like you can still use that direct communication to your advantage. I'm in the wedding industry now, and I have to work on my, cause I was in kind of senior leadership for like half of my time in the military. So leaving and then going straight into photographing weddings and being all like giddy and yay, everything's fine. And sometimes I just want to be like, no, you guys need to listen to me. Let's go. And I'm like, I can't do that. I have to figure out a kind and gentle way to do this. And every now and then, like when there's a drunk groomsman in the like that don't want to listen to me, I'm like, hey, come on, let's go. And then they all just like look at me like, what did she just do? And I'm like, everything's fine. We're having fun.
I'll never forget, I contract out at a school, and the students still talk about it to this day. They weren't doing a very good job with their listening ears that day. So I pulled out my military voice. It shut the whole school down. They all just stopped. They froze. They looked at me and they were like, Miss Daphne, I didn't know. I believe you're in the military now. They they were like, it scared me. I was like, I didn't mean to scare you, but you all weren't doing very good with your listening ears, and I needed your attention. So that is
and then you just flip the switch back.
I was like, I still love you guys. Y'all are still so sweet, but they get the best kick out of it. And their fun thing, they were like, Miss Daphne, give us a military drill. We weren't listening, so should we do push-ups now?
I can't make you do push-ups.
They're so cute. Oh, they love it. They love it. I was like, let's see how strong you are, and I count them off. But it's all for fun. That is not, we don't do that as any type of punishment or anything. It's just for the giggles.
5 push-ups before you enter my office.
But
are your clients? Are your clients still the like 18 to, is it, you said 32 age range, or are you more children now?
I'm very open now. I mean, first tell you, I started off with only working with 16 and older at first. That was my first thing. And I was just like, I just don't think I'll do well with children. And then a friend of mine, she called me up. She's the one that owns the school. It's called the Question Center. And she was like, I think you could work with children. I was like, I don't think I can. I don't know if I could reel it in, you know, because I have a mouth on me, and that mouth sometimes it just comes out, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do this. But when I was, before I went into the military, while I was in high school, one of my jobs was I worked at a daycare. So I do like kids. So, I mean, that's half the battle. You like children, and they're okay. Don't think I would have had 3 of them if I didn't like them. And so that's okay. So I said, let's give it a try. And at first I was like, well, let me stick with the high schoolers. Then I moved down to the middle schoolers and then elementary age. And I was like, oh, I am pretty good at this. So now I'm 5 years old. I have a client that is in her 80s. So it's never too late. So maybe I should talk a little bit about exactly what it is that I do, so for it to make sense. Like how you work with such a great age range. So what I do is, as a life coach, is especially to the neurodivergent, I'm focusing on life skills and social skills. So I help with emotional dysregulation, how to navigate the day-to-day things in your lives. Some of my clients have issues with their executive functioning, time management, organization. So simple tasks like you and I, especially, you know, with a military background, we know that before we leave our house every single morning, we should have brushed our teeth, combed our hair, showered, applied deodorant. But when you're neurodivergent, sometimes that doesn't just come to your mind naturally. So you need someone to remind you to do those things. You need someone to say, hey, did you take care of your personal hygiene today? Excuse me. And, or how to apply for a job, how to cook a meal, how to maintain the cleanliness in your home, inviting people over, hosting a party. I have now one that's upcoming. They want to travel to another country, but they have some barriers there. So I will be actually guiding them and being there as part of their support system on their trip. And we're going to a whole,
cool.
yeah. How awesome is that? I mean, best job ever.
Yeah.
Yes. And we're traveling. We're thinking it's going to be Australia and New Zealand is where we're going to go. But they are kind of living, they want to do these things, but how do I do that? And teaching them about companionship, building relationships, and not just relationships as intimate ones, relationships with parents, especially when you're transitioning from a child to an adult, what that relationship looks like with you, with those individuals, with your siblings, with friends. Because sometimes empathy is just not natural. You just don't think. Yesterday, I was just speaking with a client, and I was like, oh, how was your weekend? I hope you had a great weekend. And she just jumped right into talking about herself and her hair. And I was like, hey, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but you rarely reciprocate asking how I'm doing and how's your weekend. I hope that when you're with friends and engaging with others, that you remember to reciprocate those things because that matters. So to be able to give those little pointers, because most people don't have someone to give those pointers, and or things to think about. It was so funny. A couple of weeks ago, one of my clients, she was so happy. She got a brand new Mediset pill box. It was so new, blah, 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 blah. She's like, yeah, because my old one was dirty. I was like, yeah, have you ever washed it? Didn't dawn on her to wash the pill box.
Just buy a new one. It's fine.
Looked at her face, was like, I never thought of that. Why didn't I think of that? And I was like, we all just have different ways that we think of things and look at things. So I help with that. I help with dining etiquette assessment, respecting differences in others. We have a lot of individuals who are part of the LGBTQAI plus community, and some individuals who disagree with that. So how do you create cooperation among people who have different belief systems? Because you still have to work with this individual and see this individual, and teaching those type of instilling while holding on to what are your values and beliefs as well. No one is trying to change you or make you different. We are trying to help you navigate and to be comfortable with the person that you are. So we do a lot of confidence building, esteem building. And if there is some mental health support that you need, I work with a lot of therapists in the area, and I'll refer you, hey, you need to probably consider seeing so-and-so, and so they specialize in this realm. And I think they will be a good service for you. So we get them on those tracks, and to see them when they start achieving their goals and their tasks, accomplishing tasks, and first with a lot of support, and then we're pulling back on the support and see them being independent and thriving. My very first client, when she called, she was barely getting out of bed. Depression was just consuming her, along with the lack of self-confidence, and she couldn't move. So she was barely working maybe 10 hours a week. And to see her now working 40 hours a week, getting up every single day, doing the things she needs to do with very minimal prompting, so much to the point now that we said, okay, I think it's time for you to have a career growth now. Now we can start helping you progress and thinking about living independently on her own again. She's done it before, and it just wasn't her cup of tea. And finding out that I said, I think you're the type of person you're going to need a roommate your whole life. And that's okay. If you need someone there with you to keep you company, that is okay. And
Yeah.
finding and going through that self-discovery that we all had to do on the, like you said, leaving South Carolina and Ohio. And you're
Yeah.
like, do you want me to do what?
Yeah. With them? Okay.
Well, I've never done
I'll
that
try.
before.
Yeah.
Right. So exactly. It's so that, but to have someone to guide you through that. And to think about it, it was so cute. Last week, another one of my clients, he's a younger kid. He's 10 and he was just like, I'm a leader. I'm a leader. And he thought what made him a leader because he yells at people to tell them what to do. But to explain that leadership isn't that. That's not what they taught us leadership was in the military. People have to want to listen to you. You should be able to motivate, without manipulation, without yelling, and asking people, hey, now there's a time and a place where you just got to get the job done. So I'm just going to tell you to do it. And when I started talking about what are the traits of the leader, he was like, maybe I'm not a leader then. Yes, it's like I said, you need to work on your followership more.
Yeah, like a 10th life crisis for this little 10-year-old. That's funny.
Yes, yeah, no, that was hilarious. And that was pretty amazing. Just speaking with him about that and giving those little nuggets. Because imagine if there was someone around before you went into military to give you those nuggets, you probably would have been like, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
but it's not fun without the culture shock, right?
Right? Yeah. No, it doesn't make for great stories without the culture shock.
Yeah, I guess that's a better way to put it.
Yes, but you're right. It keeps life interesting, life entertaining. So again, working with people from all different walks of life. And what I love most about being a business owner instead of working for a company, for myself personally, is being able to make the rules, really, to do things the way you want to do. So like I knew I always wanted to give back. So even though I'm for-profit business, I still am able to give pro bono sessions and reduce rate sessions. And I look at everyone because this should be affordable to everyone. No one should be, especially since it's private pay. You know, you have to pay out of pocket. So I do one pro bono session per year, and I do 4 reduced rate sessions per year. So I'm able to give back to the community that way. And when I say one pro bono, meaning one client is pro bono. So they're supposed to only get a max of 6 pro bono sessions. But if I see they really have a need and really need support, I might extend that out. So I only have one client on pro bono at a time because of that reason.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's nice to be able to do those little things. I am trying to move forward with opening up a nonprofit arm to my business so that I can support more clients that way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we touch on like the depression topic for a minute?
Absolutely.
So I think I don't know if you've really worked with many veterans, but I think it's an extremely relatable topic still that I think you could speak smartly on. You mentioned your first client that was, couldn't even get out of bed, not working 10 hours a week. And do you think that there's I think a personal belief I have is that you can't force someone with these mental health issues to get help until they realize that they need it and are also mentally willing to accept the help. Do you agree with that? And what do you think, what shifts do you see in that person to when they decided to get help and when they actually accepted it and you saw change happen in their life?
That's an excellent question, Kristen. To a degree, you are correct that they have to have that willingness to help. But the thing about depression, as what I'm diagnosed with depression too, believe it or not, as well, and I've learned to manage it as well, that sometimes it's even too much energy to ask for the help. So what I would encourage friends and family is to say, this is what we're going to do today. And whether they want to or not, if it's just stand up out the bed for 5 minutes and touch your toes. And then when they realize, oh, that felt pretty good. Well, today, all I need you to do, hey, I tried to talk to you. Your breath killed me today. Can we at least brush your teeth? Can I get you some mouthwash? Because we can't have this conversation with your breath smelling like that. And, I always make it joking, a joke of it and try to get them. And they're like, I said, look, you accomplished something today. And we're going to celebrate that accomplishment. So you have to meet them where they are. And I think sometimes especially when you're dealing with depression, and I'm going to even take a step further, sometimes even with individuals with PTSD, depending on the manifestations and the symptoms of how that is coming forth, can have elements of that in it as well, that they are never going to mentally be prepared to do the work right away. You have to make it so that they can realize it's a benefit to this. This young lady she was fortunate enough to be at home with parents who saw it. They weren't sure to do, and she knew she needed something. She just didn't know what it was, but she also listened to her therapist. It was her therapist who told her, you need a life coach. You need to find someone. We're no longer making progress. You're stuck now. You need someone. And that's the beauty about life coaching and why it complements therapy so well. We're the action arm. So I go into homes. We go out into the community. We meet virtually, however that may be. You can come to my office. I meet you where you are mentally, physically, and even if it needs to be spiritually. I get you to where you need to be. And so with her, it was a journey. And I seen that journey, like you said, with so many of our peers, our military brethren and sisterin, where I'm just like, hey, I'll send a text and say, you need to answer the phone. I'm calling you. This is your task for today. It's just so that I can hear your voice and see you're okay.
Yeah.
When's the last time you've been up out of the bed? You've been there 2 days? I said, ooh, that's kind of smelly, is what I tell them. And they laugh and they giggle.
You
I
better
say,
wash them bed sheets.
Yes, exactly. I say, can you get up and put a little water? The essentials at least. Can we get a washcloth?
Yeah.
And they giggle and they're like, okay, you're right, Daphne. All right. And then next thing they're like, I feel better. I said, isn't it amazing how just a little water on your body can refresh you? And that's enough. And I'm not a big proponent of trying to force the medication issue, because I do have a lot of clients that are, yeah, medication. And then I have some that are, no medication. I know for a fact that medication can be beneficial, but I also know that it's not for everyone. So if you're not open to it, are you at least open to trying the strategies that you're being provided by your therapist and your coach? If you do those, we might be able to give you some tools to manage it. But sometimes you have to understand there's a true chemical imbalance. And the only thing that is going to help reset that is medication. And with some conditions, you don't have to be on medication for your entire life. You can manage it and cope and recognize what you need to do, and then still do your therapeutic maintenance once or twice a month for you to maintain. So I love that question, because there is a balance with that. Now, if the person is just not ready and don't want to do, as long as they're not creating harm to themselves or harm to others, you're probably just going to have to keep just being there as in presence and not force it and push it.
Right.
Yes. And so it's a very delicate approach, because I've had clients where they were being pushed too hard and then they shut down and walk away from it, especially when you're also dealing with people with autistic individuals who will shut down. They need only one bad experience and never again, and they back away from it because of the rigidity. So you have to be very delicate situation. I have a current situation now with a teenager that we are addressing now, that she definitely needs other mental health supports, but she's just not there yet. And so right now I'm building that professional friendship, if you will. I'm not her friend, but I have to build that rapport and that relationship before
Some
I can get
trust,
there.
yeah.
So exactly. So I plant seeds. Along the way. And it's a lot of making yourself vulnerable. I had to disclose to her, I suffer from depression. I suffer from anxiety. I've had to be medicated before, to be able to balance this and to be successful. Just consider it. It is nothing. I'm not pressing it. We don't have to discuss it anymore. I just want you to know I dropped a little nugget and then we move on to something else.
Yeah.
And those where those struggles are. So I'm trying to get her back to where we can get her properly tested and then get the treatment that she needs. And so far, I think we're meeting with success. We're meeting it where I'm meeting her where she is. That's where she is,
no, that's great.
Where we have to be. I lost a dear friend a couple of years ago to suicide, and so it was the last person in the world, that I would have ever thought. And all the times I thought, you need to call, you need to reach out. I saw some shifts and but I didn't push enough. And I feel that is sometimes on me as well. But I've also come to the conclusion, as you were saying earlier, you can only support and help as much as the person wants to be supported and helped as well, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. And that was really helpful. I think you'd be hard pressed to find one person, let alone one veteran, that doesn't know someone struggling with their mental health and just, I think we all kind of don't know how to handle it. And same with, I know it's a different spectrum, but I've had to deal with addicts too. And you don't know, at what point do you need to drag them out of bed? And at what point do you need to just, like you said, they're not in direct danger and they're not ready to get help. So just finding that balance and knowing when to pull and when to ease up is a fine line. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. One of my clients is struggling with alcoholism addiction. We were able to get him. Yeah, we would love for him to be, face his sobriety with, I'm never drinking alcohol again, but that's just not where he is. But he was able to meet me with, can you just set these hours, and these hours, this is what you're going to have. And so instead of getting a whole handle and drinking it all throughout the day, now we have a pint, and he drinks between 5 and 8. And as long as I'm working with him or he has to do anything, then there's no alcohol involved. And so this is getting him to those pathways. And I know a lot of people who deal with substance abuse, they just need to stop. They just need to give it up. It's not that simple. It's whole mental psychology behind it. And if the readiness is not there, no matter how much you tell them, don't, this is what you need, you force them to rehab, you're just spinning wheels at that point. Yes.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Enough of some sad talk.
I know the sad, but we have to talk about that stuff, right?
No, yeah, it's absolutely necessary.
I wish I could say that everything that I do is always happy, joy. Sometimes it isn't.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm dealing with the children, and you see that a lot of what's happening is a direct correlation with the parenting as well, with the parents. And it's not that they're bad parents or awful parents. It's just that the skill sets aren't there. Their approach isn't there because of maybe what their childhood was like. So we start drilling deep. I'd be like, we got to get to the crux of what's driving some of these behaviors. And that matters. That does matter.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the YouTube channel called Soft White Underbelly?
I have not. I love learning new things. Tell me about it.
It's by a famous photographer called Mark Lyda, and he kind of went viral, I guess, but he started out opening a studio on Skid Row in LA. And he would bring in like drug addicts, prostitutes, pedophiles, like just if you were to, it's the stereotypical like low of the low people, he would bring them in to interview them. And he always starts with their childhood. And his whole point is to raise awareness about how badly childhood trauma affects you as an adult. And he just has this way of like letting these people share some amazing stories. And he every now and then he gets like a little too emotionally attached to some people, and then but he's just an absolutely amazing guy, and he left his like Hollywood photography career to do this full time. And he doesn't make money off of it, and he'll buy like hotels and phones and stuff, and he tries to like help these addicts without forcing them to. And some of the stories have been really great. But yeah, it's definitely interesting, and he publishes a video like daily too.
Yeah, I just put that in my little notes section. I'm going to go check that out because absolutely. Yeah. Here's an interesting fact, and so people can call it what they want. I'm just fortunate enough that I'm able to do this. I don't draw salary from my business.
Really?
I actually, that's how I'm able to do the pro bono and the reduced weight work. I donate what I would collect into salary back to those individuals to receive those services.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you know, I'm retired. I get a pension. I'm 100% disabled vet. My hubby hasn't stopped working yet. I told him that's not allowed yet. I'm just kidding. But he's retired as well and has a pension. So we're okay. So we're fortunate enough. And that was one of the great things about the military. It does set you up to be a little bit more financially stable and savvy so that you can live that. So I commend anyone who can be able to do that. So I'm really ready to go check this out. So thank you for sharing that.
No,
but
absolutely.
I don't make any money off of this either per se, not in the traditional sense of paying myself.
Right.
Sense of paying
it just goes
myself.
back into it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So my sister is a BCBA at I don't know what military base in Tennessee. And she told me something interesting last year was that if you're in the military, the chance of your children being neurodivergent or on the autism spectrum increases, like, I don't want to say the number because I don't remember, but it was something around like double. Or do you know that number, or are you able to like speak on that?
No, I don't know the number, but I'm going to say that would not surprise me at all. I'm going to tell you that we had suspected for a while that our two older were neurodivergent, but a lot of times in the military, you're just like, I don't have time for that, especially coming in the 90s. This is what you need to do. You're going to get it done, and we're going to move forward. And it kind of gave that distance. So I think that lifestyle worked. So I don't know that if it's more than likely they're going to be diagnosed. I think that a lot of individuals, I mean, not diagnosed, I think a lot of individuals that are in the military, we travel so much, expose so much. And a lot of us, when we start telling us stories, we typically, very few do you hear, I joined because I'm patriotism and I had to serve my country. They were needed a different life than what they needed. They where they were coming from. I was in that situation. My mom couldn't afford to pay for college. No one really talked to me about student loans or what they are. And I was like, well, if the military pays for it, I'll go in it. And then you go in it, you have kids, and certain branches are better than others when it comes to having families, but you have a job to do and the mission comes first. And then you find great leaders that say, well, you can't get your mission done unless your family's taken care of. And even though we have the Exceptional Family Members Program, the EFMP program, that's about as only good as the time you have to make it to go, especially when you're military meal to meal and, or your spouse, is working as well. So it's just one of those type of situations. So I don't know necessarily that the rates are double because of more of our environment that is causing it. I think we just have better resources to identify it and to get you there. That we have to take care of the mission. And because of that, if something's not right with the family, we know we got to get that worked out right away. So you're diagnosed at a way higher rate because of the treatments and availability and the benefits that come with that. I mean, I talk to people all the time and they're relying on grants or scholarships of some nature or their insurance to pay for things. Well, if you're active duty military with your family, I mean, the most we typically pays might be $300 a year, right? And we can get all the care that we need. But in the civilian world, these people are paying anywhere from $300 to $1,200 a month for insurance.
A month. Yeah.
A month.
Yep. That's a hard lesson because I straight up separated from the Navy. I only did 10 years and health insurance is not cheap. I was not ready for that.
One thing that I educate my clients on, because a lot of them, like their parents have been taking care of it. I'm like, no. You need to go out to the marketplace. It's not what you think it is. You need to ask. They were like, well, if I get a job, they pay for my insurance. I said, no. They offset the cost of it. They're not paying for your health insurance. There are a few that do that, but then the pay typically is aligned with them paying for the health insurance. You're probably going to be making, between $12 to $15 an hour as opposed to $30 or $40 an hour.
Yeah. Like it's out of your paycheck.
And you would be amazed at how many people, civilians really too, that don't comprehend that. I'm just like, oh my gosh. So
I think included is a better way to word it than like, it's not complimentary.
We're just not giving it to you.
Right.
Right. So I think that we have the availability because we know that if we have a child that's not speaking, but I have to deploy for 6 months to a year, who am I going to lead them with to understand that? So I need help with this because my child is no longer, is now not speaking.
Yeah.
So we have to figure those things out a lot faster and get our pulse on it, I think, because of what we have to do for our country, the sacrifices we have to make, deployments, TDYs, and things of that nature.
Yeah, no, I agree. When she told me that, I said, is that because of like, stuff that you're exposed to in the military, or is it just because they test more? Because not every child that comes into the world outside of the military gets tested for autism, but it's probably more likely that a child in a military family seeing a military treatment facility is going to be evaluated at some point. And so if you have an increase in testing, you're going to have an increase in positive
diagnoses.
Results. So
exactly.
Yeah. Diagnosis. That's a better word.
No, that's fine. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We just have the better resources with that. We get sick, we cut our finger. I remember back in the day when individuals using the ER, like it was just a regular doctor's visit because it cost us absolutely nothing to go to the ER. Yeah. And they were like, could you please stop using the ER for that? You need to make a call to your PCM or go to urgent care.
Yeah.
Yes, but yes.
Okay, shifting to like back to 1990 when you joined, or even did you notice any like significant changes as far as just being a woman in the military? What like hurdles do you feel like you had to overcome? And you were in a very like pivotal time because I would imagine in the 90s women weren't as accepted, and then especially being a minority female. But so you would have retired in what, 2015?
Yes, you got it. Yes.
So in the 2010s, I would assume I joined in 13. So it was just normal to see a woman in the military in the 2010s. It's like, what did you observe like that shift while you were in?
Absolutely. Even to this day with our generation, sometimes you should see when I walk up to the VA, especially if my husband and I have an appointment at the same time. Um,
Hmm.
you could see the look of confusion on individuals' faces. And I think I've gotten stopped more than my husband by the front people like, do you have an appointment here today? Yes, I do. They were like, you're the veteran? Yes, I am. And so
It's 2023. Why are we still surprised?
you will be amazed. People just crack me up with that. But anyway, great question. You're right. Because when I first came in, like I said, I was a radio operator, and that was definitely a male dominated field.
Yeah.
There were a couple of times I was the only female, the only person of color in my workplace. So I find myself trying to assimilate to the point of trying to be one of the boys and one of the guys. And so I didn't stick out, and I could show that I could hang with them and do that. And at some point, it compromised who I was a little bit. It did
Yeah.
compromise, me as an individual. And then when I started getting more women around, and not just women, because it's one thing to say just joining the military, but also being influences in the military, starting to acquire rank or seeing them in leadership roles and positions, because that was few and far between. Like you said, I retired. Oh my gosh, it just seems so long ago. I can't. It's painful to say 2015, and still to be like the only. I was enlisted, so the top ranking enlisted female in the room as a senior master sergeant, or the top ranking. That was just mind blowing to me still.
Yeah.
Or that we were sitting in meetings, and still to this day and age, I would say something, or another female in the room would say something. It would just be glossed completely over, like the words did not just
Yeah.
come out of our mouth. And then 10 minutes later, a guy says the same exact thing. And it's just like, oh my gosh, you're just a genius. You're so brilliant. I was like, I said that. 10 minutes ago. Oh, well, I must have misunderstood what you were trying to say. Nope, is exactly what I just
When
said.
when that would happen to me, I would cut off the man that was talking and I would be like, I just want everyone to know I already said this and y'all aren't listening to me because I'm a woman and that's not okay. Like I would
Yeah.
straight up call them out. And the amount of women that have said this already is like infuriating to me.
Or the level of amount of just disrespect, the way they speak to you
Mm-hmm.
or exclude you. Not even, sometimes you're just excluded from things. Oh, I didn't think you would be interested because of X, Y, and Z. How did you even formulate that? I would love to go that. Especially coming up in the 90s, they'll be like, well, we didn't think you would want this TDY because of you having a child. I still have a career and I want to
Yeah.
progress. This is
Yeah,
part
you
of
still need to
me
ask me.
showing I still need to be included in this and upward mobility. It needs to be my decision, not yours.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to making your seat at the table. And I made sure
Mm-hmm.
I made that um, outspoken as well. And I'll be like, wow, that's amazing. Where did you get that idea from? And then I'm like, well, I know you said it earlier. I say, exactly. I just wanted to make sure you acknowledge that this was something that I stated before.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and a lot of times, because of being a Black woman, I would have to bite my tongue. I'll never forget the time, and this is, like I said, I had become a senior master sergeant by this point in E8. I was in E8, and this commander actually brought me into the office. He said, well, I just wanted to meet and speak with you. I had did a write up on his out and about, noticing the lack of diversity in his unit, that the majority of the individuals on the wall were all males, and not just all males, they were white males on top of it. I said, just
Mm-hmm.
something we have to point out. You might want to do a barrier analysis, did all the little collegiate stuff to kind of figure these things out. He asked to speak with me, and I was like, okay. So I get to the office, And he was like, well, all I saw was a picture of you. And I wasn't sure if you were just an angry Black female with a chip on your shoulder.
I wasn't, but I am now. That's what I would have
So
said. Jesus.
what I wanted to say, I couldn't say, because then I would have become exactly what he was expecting. I knew he was saying it to push a button. So that's when I pulled out all of that great knowledge that I gained, and my thesaurus that I had read at one time with these big colorful words, and broke some things down for him. Needless to say, he did apologize.
That's good.
And it was just the amount of disrespect. I was so angry, or someone to question my integrity because I challenged him on something. Well, I think you might have spoke, because my husband was in that particular unit. Well, that must have been pillow talk from your husband. No, that was from me doing my job. It had nothing to do with my spouse. And it's just been some just crazy things that you see, but you see that shift, you see coming up from the 90s and the growth, and to see, women coming into not just being and joining, but having a seat at the table in the higher ranks, the higher echelon, making the progress. I think it's still sad that we're in this century, we're in this year 2023, and we're still talking about the first of for anything, and we're still talking about the first person that's doing this, our first admiral, our first woman admiral. Are we kidding right now? Our first commander, female commander of this. This just is absolutely insane to me.
I think it's great that we have these women trailblazing, but it is not sad, but just like, wow, it took us this long to get to this point, but I'm glad it's happening still.
We're supposed to be a nation of leadership and being forward thinking. That it doesn't sometimes reflect as strongly as it needs to.
And I think a big belief I have is like the people that maybe like half of the people that really had potential to make a change in the military are the ones that leave early too, because they realize that it's not worth their like energy expended. And you that was a realization I had, was like, I could have done 30 years and try to be the change I want to see, but I would have been sacrificing myself in the process. I just kind of selfishly chose myself over the Navy, and that's okay.
That is okay. You can still be that change. You're still a veteran. You can still mentor. I still reach out. I still have people who call me. I'm no longer in the military that I provide mentor. And I always put the caveat, things are different now. I've been out a little bit. So please go back and check. But if it were me, maybe you should consider approaching this. Hey, I still go back and pull up AFIs and dig into AFIs. And I'm like, wow, look at this change. Wow. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And so we still get in there and we dig in. I'm like, okay, what does the AFI say on this? What does the regulations say on this? What's that policy? Let's talk about that a little bit more. So you can be the change and still be out of uniform. I believe that.
Yeah.
For me,
absolutely.
When it's your time too. I'm like you. I was like, I was in line for chief, knew I had it. It was not a doubt in my mind. And I said, this is it. It's time to walk away. I didn't even bother taking the test for E9. I was like, I just walked away. I said, I've done all I can do. And it's time for me to move forward now. And it's time for me to make a difference in other ways. I am not one of those people that believe the military is for everyone. I do believe that if you're able and you should do the military. I wish we did have conscription here, like other countries do, that everyone has to serve at least 2 years if you're able-bodied and can do so, because I think there's a lot of benefit to that. But I don't think that everyone needs to make a career out of it either. I think that if you can make a difference. Like, it's interesting to me that you're like you said, you're following your passion and your dream, and how you can use photography to do that, and reaching out into the
Mm-hmm.
community and enlightening others. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it felt like, I'm like, why am I doing this? It feels like it's an uphill battle. And I didn't care. I had to let go caring what people thought of me. I had to let that
Yeah.
go. And if my assertiveness made you label me as something else, that's your issue, not mine. But
Yes.
I know Joe Brown can sit over here and say the same thing, sometimes 10 times worse. Oh, that guy is so hilarious. Well, you're just going to have to find Daphne hilarious right now. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, but it was worth it for me in the end. Because, as the hurdles I had to jump, I mean, I'm not going to say I didn't have my challenges. There were some times I suspected that I've worked with some people that had issues with either, uh, my sex, my gender, or maybe my beliefs or my color of my skin, but I never allowed them to treat me as such. You can feel the way you
Yeah.
want to feel, but if you can't respect me, at least respect the rank that I've earned on my arm, and you're going to speak to
Yeah.
me as such. And
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a firm believer, as long as I'm not disrespecting you and being a sassy pants with you, you don't have a right to do that with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the last two questions I ask everyone
Yes.
are, I know we're wrapping it up already. It's
I know.
gone
I
by
was
so
like, what time
fast.
is it? Like, wow, it went by
Yeah, we're at
quick.
almost, yeah, we're almost at an hour.
Yes.
But so the last two questions are, what advice would you give to any female that's thinking about joining the military? And then on the flip side, any woman that is thinking about starting her own business. What words of wisdom do you have for those two?
Okay. Could you repeat the first question again? You cut out just a tad. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
advice for a woman joining the military.
Okay. Advice for women join the military. The advice that I would give women joining the military: don't compromise yourself. Be authentic and true to who you are, and stand up for what you know in your heart is the right thing to do, so that you can sleep every night. Do not
Yeah.
silence yourself. Do not feel like you have to be just the person sitting in the room not saying it. There's a time to take in and observe, so that you can know and to articulate yourself with all the knowledge at hand. But there's also a chance for you to have your voice to be heard. Um, you're not
No,
going
that's great.
to,
I agree.
yeah. And then starting your own business, trust yourself. I went out on a leap of faith. I walked away from my job, and I only had one client on the books. And I was just like, okay, well, I was so lowballing it. If I get 5 people, I made it. Oh, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. Yeah, no, that was a hobby. That was a hobby. That was just filling my time. So,
Mhm.
but when, believe in yourself and invest in yourself and ask the questions. Don't be afraid. Don't look at others as the competition when you're in business. Look at how you can bridge a partnership and create synergy. I work with a lot of people who are doing the same exact thing that I'm doing, very similar. Their niche may be different, and we all work to uplift and support one another. And I love that, because I've had clients that I said, they're not a great fit for me, but I think you will work great with this individual, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So we become each other's referral sources and pools to
Mhm.
be able to support one another. And no matter, because people still don't understand what I do sometimes. They're like, people pay you just to give advice? Well, I do a lot more than that. I do have a
Yeah.
mental health counseling program. Please do not
Yeah.
water me down to just being a professional mom, because that's not what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I run a business. I am an expert in my field. For a while there, and occasionally it still happens, I suffer from imposter syndrome. And I'm like, oh
We
my
all
gosh,
do.
yes, we do, right? And I doubt myself, but I never let anyone else see that. I do
Mhm.
vent, and I did it on my own. to a degree, but I knew when I needed support and resources, and I asked for the help when I needed to. And
Yeah.
put yourself out there. Don't be afraid. I go to a lot of networking events, and that's the best that you can ask for as a business owner.
Yeah, absolutely. Community and education are huge.
Thank you for having me, Chris, and I hope that this
Yeah,
as exciting and enjoyable for you as it was for me. I
it
really enjoyed
was
speaking with
definitely.
you.
Yeah, it was a joy to have you, and maybe we'll have you again soon. We'll see.
Yes, yes, we'll see.
Yeah,
I would
thank
love that. I would
you.
love that so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.